This is Catherine from Growing Chefs Ontario, and I'm going to show you how to make fish tacos. Tacos are a favorite meal for families to make together, and fish tacos are an excellent take on that. One of my favorite reasons why I enjoy making fish tacos at home is that fish is very, very quick to cook. You can take it out of your freezer and it will defrost in almost no time, and it comes together very quickly. As a chef, I am so lucky to be able to be surrounded by an amazing abundance of white fish and local fish to use in my cooking. For this recipe, we're using a sustainably caught cod, and look at your own grocery store for other sustainable fish options near you. Sustainable fishing means that the fishes were not harmed in the process and there is not as much bycatch with that fishing. If you're interested in more sustainable fish options, check out Oceanwise. It's a great website with lots of amazing resources. We're gonna start by marinating our fish. So I'm gonna place our fish into this pan here, and I've measured out a 1/4 teaspoon of chili powder and a 1/4 teaspoon of cumin. And I'm going to just measure out 1 tablespoon of oil and place that on top of it here and sprinkle our spices. I'm gonna squeeze about half a lime all over top. And then I have 1 medium clove of garlic that I'm just going to grate with my fine rasp into here as well. Being careful of my fingers because this is quite sharp. And then lastly, I'm just going to season it well with salt and pepper. And then I'm gonna get my hands in here and make sure that everything is very well coated. Just soaking up all those nice flavors here. All right, so I'm gonna let my fish sit here for about 15 minutes. In the meantime, I'm gonna go wash my hands. While my fish is marinating, I'm gonna start making our coleslaw. So I have just half a head of cabbage here. I'm just going to start by cutting it in half one more time. If you feel comfortable working with a chef's knife, what we're going to do is try to get this cabbage as thin as possible. Really, really thin, nice cabbage will make an excellent coleslaw. This is a great way to use our knife skills. If you're not as comfortable with using a chef's knife, perhaps you can ask a parent or guardian for some assistance, or there's really great bags of pre-shredded coleslaw that are excellent to work with too. So I'm just gonna go down very, very, very small, very thin here, so that I have a nice thin cabbage here. Another tool that we could use to accomplish this is a mandolin. Mandolins are excellent for shredding things very finely. However, they're very, very sharp and you need to be very careful. So let's just set this up here and I'll show you how that works. I'm just going back and forth. And if you use it safely, it's an excellent tool for doing this a little bit quicker as well. Just want to make sure that my fingers are well out of the way there. Our cabbage is nice and thinly cut here. So I'm going to prepare our onion. I have a white onion. If you'd like to, you could certainly use a red onion as well. So I'm just cutting it in half and then leaving the root end intact. I'm just going to, with my knife, carefully take off the top, which allows me to peel back the outer layer of the skin here. And then I'm just gonna actually cut through the root end as well. And then with my knife on an angle, just lining up with the lines of the onion, I'm going to start cutting as thin as I can possibly go. So I'm just shaving the onion into very skinny pieces. And then for me, when I'm at the halfway mark, it's easier to turn it around and just keep chopping that way. There we go. So I have my nice thinly shaved onion here. I'm going to add it back into the coleslaw. And then I'm going to use another half to one more lime. So I'm just cutting it in half so I can squeeze as much juice as possible out of that. I'm squeezing it just directly onto our coleslaw here. And I think that I'm going to use a little bit more. Just because I like things to be a little bit sour. So for a little bit of color and a bit more flavor, I'm going to add in some freshly chopped cilantro into our coleslaw. Feel free to add any other vegetables that you might like. Carrots would be an excellent choice, or peppers as well. So I'm just taking the leaves off of the stems, and then I will roughly chop it. Another great tool, if you're not as comfortable with a chef's knife, is to use scissors for chopping herbs. And that's something that younger kids can do very well. There we go, we'll add our cilantro in. And I have 1 tablespoon more of oil. This is just a grapeseed oil that I've added into here. And I'm going to season it well with salt and a small pinch of pepper. Okay, so everything is mixed together well in here. I'm just going to combine it. As this slaw will sit, the flavors will really come together and brighten. So it can just kind of hang out while we're finishing cooking our fish and while we're reheating our tortillas. So I'm just gonna taste it. Tasting is one of the most important parts of cooking. We're gonna reheat our corn tortillas. The tortillas that we're using today are delicious corn tortillas, and they have an amazing authentic corn flavor, and they're really quick and easy to reheat. I found them at the grocery store today, but if you can't find them, certainly flour tortillas or hard shell tortillas would work as well. So all I've done is I've reheated my pan over medium to high heat, and just to soften them up a bit, I'm gonna place about 2 in the pan at a time and let them cook for about 1 to 2 minutes on each side. This is just gonna soften them and brown them a small amount. When I can see here that they're starting to soften in the pan, I'm just gonna carefully flip it over and do the other side. And I'll have a small amount of brown marks on it. Okay, so I can see that they're ready here. I'm just going to carefully pick them up with my tongs. And I have a clean tea towel here that I'm just going to tuck them into to keep them warm while we're cooking. If you think that you're not going to eat the tortillas for a little while, you can certainly place them in a tinfoil covered dish in the oven as well, and just at a low temperature like 200 to keep them warm. To cook our fish, I'm going to start by adding about a tablespoon of grapeseed oil into the pan, and I'll just wait until it's heated through. It should be shimmering just a little bit, and just I'm carefully moving it around. So there we go, it's warm. And I'm going to add our fish directly into the pan. You can tell that I have a nice and hot pan because it starts sizzling immediately. So cooking fish is actually one of the easiest proteins to cook and one of the quickest. This is a piece of fish that's about 1 pound in size. We're gonna cook it for about 3 minutes on either side on medium heat. The way that you can tell when the fish is cooked through is that it should be opaque completely through. If you have a metal fork that you can poke into the center and then just feel the heat of it, it should be warm. That means your fish is completely cooked through. Otherwise, you could use a thermometer if you wanted to be completely safe and cook it to a temperature of at least 160 degrees. All right, my fish is starting to be ready to be flipped. So I just quickly loosened it with my tongs, and I'm going to flip it here with a spatula just to get the other side in there. This is a really nice flaky fish, so you can see that it's starting to fall apart already, but that's okay because when we are cooking it for our tacos, we're gonna just break it apart anyway. So if it's not perfect presentation, don't stress. All right, our fish has been in the pan for a total of 6 minutes. I'm just gonna insert a fork and leave it for about 5 seconds here. And just check the temperature, and it feels quite warm to the touch. So now I'm confident that my fish is done. I'll turn off my heat, and I'm just gonna cut it in half to make it a little bit easier to pick up. And then that way I can also peek and see that it's opaque, so it's ready to put into our plate here. All right, so let's assemble some tacos. Everything is ready here for our fish tacos. So I'm gonna plate one up. You can choose any ingredients that you like to as your toppings. For myself, I've chosen to do some salsa. I have some fresh squeezed lime for on top, some avocado and some sour cream and cilantro. So I just have my tortilla here. I'm gonna just take a small amount of the flaked fish and put it on the tortilla. And then top it with a little bit of that delicious crunchy slaw here. This is just even grated this side. And then let's put a little bit of our pico on top. A little bit of sour cream for some creaminess. Some fresh sliced avocado here. A little bit of cilantro. And just finish it off with a squeeze of lime juice.